Hello, everyone. This is Caroline, and today's webcast is on September 11, 2011. Very interesting day, strange day, difficult day, fun day. I guess we will see. For those who are still joining, welcome. This is a question and answer session. It is not a healing circle, so please make sure you have questions and you're ready to ask your questions in just a couple of minutes here. I just have a very quick introduction, and then we're going to get to the questions. Please make sure your questions are global, not so much personal. I mean, of course, personal is okay as long as they are relevant to global events or to collective consciousness and things like that. And regardless, simply intend that whoever asks a question today, that you will receive an answer to your question no matter what, okay? How could we miss what is happening globally? Everything is happening globally. The governments are collapsing. People are revolting. There is all sorts of massive amounts of information pouring into our consciousness every day. This is a very unique time, a major transition on the earth plane. So to me, I call this the divine plan. For those who have read the book, The Divine Plan Beyond 2012, know that in fact, what I wrote in this book has nothing to do with 2012 in terms of galactic alignment. Maybe I may refer to that maybe in 2 paragraphs, and that's about it. To me, the divine plan is a lot bigger. It's a lot. It's really a mastermind coordination of creation, really, that allows all of intelligent life, the planetary systems, to continue to remain connected, to remain integrated, to remain coherent, and to continuously evolve. So, to me, the divine plan is an overall elegant organization of creation, of the universes. And so there is this underlying support system that helps us move forward, our consciousness to continue to evolve. And so that to me is that's what I call the divine plan. But in addition to this bigger picture, to me there's another divine plan that is taking place at this time. And what I mean by this is, in this particular case, this plan is more like a special project, let's call it that way. It's a specific plan that is targeting one particular area in the universe. Of course, we are speaking about the Earth right now. And so this particular divine plan has been created to support a particular planet that is stuck in its evolutionary on its evolutionary path in some ways. Of course, all we have to do is look around to know that humanity is stuck on many levels. And so this consciousness, this new plan has been created to usher humanity and the earth through this next evolutionary stage. And so, to me, this divine plan is multidimensional. It is not just about the galactic alignment, which is, like I said, to me is a minor detail, in fact. It has to do with the implanting of very new types of consciousness, changing, evolving the human species DNA and consciousness, changing the entire configuration of the Earth, the planetary system, redefining its position within the galaxy and the universe. It's on and on and on. It's on a multidimensional level. So, for those who have not read the book, please go and read it. Like I said, it has nothing to do with just another 2012 event. It goes into detail about all of these aspects that I've just mentioned. And for those who have read the book, will tell you that you can keep reading over and over, and you will see that it goes deeper every time you read it, or you think you haven't read one part, and in fact, you've read it, and it just keeps on registering in your consciousness on a deeper level. So also, this particular plan that I'm speaking of is the one that is bringing about the implanting or the creation, the manifestation of a new grid system. To me, there is a grid system that allows the frequency range and therefore reality on the earth to change, to be completely different, to move to the next level. And so the current events that we are observing today on the earth, all of these, the economy, the collapses, the governments, and the global, of course, the weather patterns, and all of these things are mentioned, of course, in the book, but also in this plan. They are taken into account. And what's very interesting about 2011 is that we are beginning to actually observe the physical manifestation of a lot of things that have been energetic up until this year. So that's why it's quite extraordinary time. You have come at this particular time to witness this transition, which is quite unusual, quite magnificent. But it's not just to witness, to also take part. And when I say take part, it does not mean necessarily that you have to be out there teaching, or you have to be preaching this and that. You just have to be. You see, we're not used to just being, just bringing a consciousness and just being and understanding that is our primary goal of incarnating in human form. Because if you understand that you are a vessel, that you are a consciousness that is coherent with the blueprint of the consciousness of the universe, then you will understand that this coherence allows you to bring any frequency from any part in the universe in this human form. So this means that by you simply appearing here, being born here in a human body, you are bringing through you, or you have the ability to bring through you, the consciousness of the universe in your own configuration. So the way the universe is coming through me in this particular body, in this particular configuration, is not the same as my neighbor next door, or you on the other side of the planet, or your kid, or your husband, or your child, or what have you, okay? So each one of you is currently very much co-creating this divine plan right here on the earth, simply by being a human. And so what this means is that the only thing that is required, rather, is that you understand this principle, that even if you never go out and teach, or never go out and do healing work, or never go out and do what have you, you have already accomplished the very first and major step in the manifestation of this divine plan. And all you have to do is to become cognizant of this fact, understand how it works, and simply through your intent bring this consciousness, this universal consciousness, the consciousness of source through you. It has never been done this way because you were not in this configuration here before. So the fact that you are here standing in this body, in this configuration, is an extremely new, extraordinary thing. And that is exactly what is needed at this time. And that's how you fit in the divine plan that is unfolding on the earth now. Okay? So that is the intro. I said only a couple of minutes, but I get carried away a little bit here. We're going to begin with the questions that you have. And for those who have a microphone, please raise your hand and I will open the line so you can ask your question. And for those who don't have a question, just type it in and I will read it. Okay? All right, so let me see here. We have Jessica, your hand is up. Let's see. If you have a question, please go ahead, Jess. How are you?
Good, how are you? I just wanted to ask, our spirit guides, are they always members of our spirit family as well? Or can they be from a different type of spirit family?
It's a good question. It's actually both. You have spirit guides that are typically your spirit family, but occasionally you may encounter another being that is not from your spirit family, that is not the same lineage, that will come in at a particular time in your life to help you with a particular task. And so that's why, even though normally it is your spirit family or lineage, but occasionally it is not. All right, John, you're next.
You mentioned that Washington, D.C. was designed to take advantage of the old grid connection to the galactic center to have power over the world. And I was wondering, what is the old grid pattern that's above Israel and Saudi Arabia, Mecca? And when will that old grid pattern collapse?
Okay, you didn't come in very clearly. I'm not sure if everybody heard you, but I think you were asking about the particular alignment of Washington, D.C. For those who were not on the call last webcast, just go back and listen to that webcast. I spoke about the particular alignment of Washington, D.C. with the grid system. If you understand, if you realize that the grid system is a particular multidimensional geometric formation, it's not one straight line in the sky, that correspond to one particular point on the earth. It doesn't really work this way. But there is a particular alignment that on the earth, every part of the earth has a particular alignment that allows that place on the earth to connect with the rest of the cosmos. That's the point of having a grid system. So last time I mentioned that Washington, D.C., because it had an earthquake and very unique, unusual weather pattern, I mentioned that its alignment had to do with a direct link to the galactic center. And now John is asking, what about, I believe you mentioned Israel, and I think you mentioned Mecca in Saudi Arabia. So each particular alignment takes you to a point. It's kind of like a very intricate subway system. You take the number one line or the red line or the blue line. I'm not sure what city you're in, but sometimes they use colors, sometimes you use numbers. So the end of the day, every location on the earth connects you to the center of the galaxy, and from there to the center of the universe. That's the point of being connected. Mecca is connected to very close to the Orion entry, alignment. And Orion, for those who have studied with me, know that the position of Orion on the arms of the Milky Way is it's kind of like a direct link to the center. Again, it's hard for me to describe this because I'm not showing you the diagram. But if you can imagine that Orion is on one of the arms that where the Earth, the same arm that has the Milky Way and the Earth. Because it is the same arm, then Orion becomes the fastest entryway to get to the center of the galaxy. I hope that makes sense. Israel, on the other hand, is shifting. And by the way, let me just be clear that these are all the old alignments, meaning the old grid system. Everything is shifting right now. So the new grid system, it's almost like Mecca. If right now it is aligned with Orion, well, in a few years it won't be anymore. Does that make sense? Because it's still in the process of shifting. And Israel also, in fact, had a very, it's almost like it went straight up towards the plate Pleiades, which is very close to the center of the Milky Way as well. And so now, will you say that being closer is better? Not necessarily. Well, I mean, yeah, sometimes it is, but it depends how humans on that part of the planet are using that opening. You see, so that's why these very strategic locations are very politically charged, because on some level, I'm not sure if the current politicians, I'm pretty sure the current politicians are not aware of what I'm talking about, but maybe very, very, very few people are on some level, or at least on an unconscious level. And so what happened, because as you know, from another spirit level, you are receiving the guidance. And so that's why the politics in those parts of the planet are very charged, and very people are fighting specifically for this particular part of the planet. And even though they could go, a few 100 miles south or north, whatever, and find a good spot for them, but they choose to battle the people in this particular part because they believe that there's something sacred. And what they think is sacred is actually because on some level they know of this particular alignment. And if you have an alignment that gives you straight access to the center of the galaxy, then you receive, it's almost like you receive a much bigger or unprocessed, it's almost like that entryway has less to go. It doesn't go through all the other star systems before it reaches you. It's more like a direct line. So that's the current alignment, but like I said, it will be changing. All right. So here we go. Lori, go ahead. You're on the air. What's your question? Lori, your hand is up. Did you have a question? I guess not. Okay, so please put your hand down then. Let's see. Another question. What are the consequences of the weakening and reversal of the magnetic field on Earth and human beings? Of course, it has a massive, massive consequence on the Earth and human beings. But what is happening? There's all sorts of things that happen, including the solar flares that then can penetrate the ozone layer, basically that protects the Earth. But if the magnetic field begins to weaken, then these flares can come onto the Earth and create all sorts of major problems. Electrical problems, fires, earthquakes, all sorts of stuff. And so we know that is happening. In fact, it's scientifically, verified that this is occurring right now. And so, but again, to say that in one day everything is going to stop, it doesn't work this way. It's over a very long period of time. So normally you will not be really, really sensing those changes. But what's happening right now is that there's a huge increase in this shift, and so you may be feeling certain things more than normal. And so because it's this process has been sped up. And so you maybe, if you feel strange headaches or you feel dizzy and things like that, or disoriented and confused for no reason or more than usual, it is because of this magnetic field changing drastically. So it has a very strong effect, and especially the last month or two, I don't know if you've been feeling it, very, very, very difficult time energetically if you haven't felt it in your body. It has to do specifically with what you just asked about, the change in the magnetic field. All right. Next question. The last month has been very difficult with all these energetical changes. What to expect energetically in the near future? Yes, so again, that's what I just mentioned is it's a huge shift energetically that's been happening the last 2 months. So if you haven't felt it in your body, then you're one of the lucky ones, because it has been quite difficult to sustain a balance in the midst of all of this, these electromagnetic field shifting like that. And so also there's a huge sense of anxiety, confusion because of this. And so all we have to do is look around and see how people's behavior around the world is almost in a panic state. I'm not sure if you can sense that. So the way it's going to continue to shift is, or to continue really energetically, is pretty much the same, if not accelerate. But of course, we will have moments of to take a breath, between every every short period. But I feel that this panic that has to do with the collective consciousness realizing that there is something very big about to happen. Of course, most people are thinking in terms of the economy, collapsing, losing their jobs, things like that. Some people are sensing that on the level of geophysical. They feel something is going to happen along those lines. And so it's almost like a sense of last resort, not knowing what to do. It's kind of a sense of panic and realizing that there's nothing really that you can do that will stop this. So I'm talking about the collective consciousness feeling this way. I'm not saying that you have to feel this way or it has to feel this way. I'm just saying that all of these upheavals we've been observing, in the Arab world, in Europe, everywhere, really, pretty much, and it's going to continue in that sense, is going to allow a kind of a more sense of urgency and panic to continue. So this means, because people will realize that especially in terms of the economy, that this is not getting better. The solutions are not making sense. Of course, we were told that all of these solutions were going to work in 2008. Of course, we've been saying, of course, it's not going to work. But now, everyone, those who were skeptical in 2008, are beginning to realize that another bailout, another system, another quick fix thing is not going to do it this time. And so it's that level of awareness that is creating this sense of panic. If this happens, then what should I do? How do I take care of myself? How do I take care of my kids? So because of that, then the collective energies are going to continue to be a little bit frazzled like that, and having that sense of urgency. So how do you deal with this? Just the way I've been mentioning since the beginning of the year. If you understand that all of this is really the product of this divine plan unfolding, it has to almost be this way. Some people are still thinking that there's a way that we're going to transition out of this in a very kind of easy, not easy, but in a very comfortable, and like we're not going to feel anything. And all of a sudden, all the people who have been living off of greed or have been really in the old paradigm way of living are not going to just all of a sudden get up one day and just change, 180 degrees and become all loving and wonderful. If that was the case, then the government will stop asking us to pay taxes. That's the first thing I would say. They would stop claiming that they're doing everything for our own good. They would be truly helping and assisting us, the people, we the people, from a truthful, loving way. And so that is not organic to what's happening. The momentum that has occurred so far is so great, going in one direction, that it has to be severed one way or another. So that momentum, this acceleration of the momentum, is going to feel a little bit frantic, a little bit, panicky, like I said. And so the idea is for you to just put it in perspective and remember that this is simply a transition state. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's fun. And I'm not saying you can totally detach from it. Obviously, we're all feeling these things in our body. But it just means that if you understand what's happening, then you can allow it and you can shift from it much easier. All right? So that's what I foresee. I hope this is not triggering any sort of fear. Quite the contrary. I feel that if you are still in fear, then you are not understanding what's happening. You are not wanting to address the fact that there is a bigger picture that is actually helping. It is really helping the earth and humanity transition to the next level. And the more you trust, you shift from the fear to the place of trust, the more you're going to find evidence of the support. In your daily life, you will, if you really trust and understand what I'm talking about and allow this divine plan to continue unfolding, you will truly feel supported. You will find miracles every day through this source connection. You will feel much more comfortable and connected throughout this time. All right, and of course that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring you ideas, bring you tools, tell you what's going on. So it's much harder for the people who have no idea. So please don't allow yourself to just go into the fear. You are the one allowing it. You have the tools, you have the information. And so please do the work, okay? So now next question. David's asking, what about keeping to our goals, doing what you love to do, having a vision for what you want your life to be and visualizing it, doing it, going for it no matter what? Is that a way to overcome this economic transition? Of course. And, again, we talked about no matter what the overall, energy is doing, no matter what's happening, you are still creating your reality. So like I said many times, some people say, so are you saying I shouldn't invest? Are you saying I should quit my job? Are you saying I should leave this relationship? I'm not saying any of that. I am sharing the effect of the momentum of what is occurring now and sharing my view on their potential outcome. It's kind of like a weather forecast. I say that many times. So if I'm telling you that it looks like there's going to be heavy rain, so you may choose to still go out and take an umbrella and think that you're going to be okay. Or you may choose to say, you know what, I'm just going to wait a couple hours and just not worry about it. So you have to really think that you create your reality. Now, again, if it's raining very heavily outside and you're saying, okay, well, I'm going to stay indoors, that is the way I'm going to create this reality. And I'm going to really feel good so that you can achieve this experience, even though many people will be outside and they're going to get wet and maybe they're going to have an accident or what have you. So you can. But what happens is that sometimes the collective is so strong. I mean, when something happen globally, it's hard to not feel. It's just because you're energetically connected. It doesn't mean that it has to stop you from doing what you are doing. It just means that you will feel the impact of the collective, but it should not stop you from creating your reality. All right? So hopefully this is helpful. Next question. Let's see here. Go ahead, Mary, you're on the air.
Caroline, a long time ago, Edgar Casey said, out of Russia will come the hope of the world. I've been wondering if that was true then, if it's true now. What are your thoughts about that?
I'm sorry, did you say out of Russia?
Yeah, that's what, out of Russia will come the hope of the world.
The hope of the world. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's what he said.
Okay. I don't think it was literal like that. I'm not sure. But my sense is I don't particularly agree with this view or that insight myself. I think there's something global happening. And if there's any, the way I see the hope is through this, like I said, this divine plan that is unfolding. The way it's unfolding is through you, those who are understanding higher frequency, those who are understanding the presence of a new grid system that reconnects the planet to the consciousness of the universe. And so to me, if you were to use the word hope of the transition or the future, I would say that the hope is spread throughout the planet right now. It's spread through you right now. And it's interesting that this group is very international. If you notice, every time we keep mentioning the different areas, if you could just take a moment to visualize that you are somewhere in South Africa, somebody else in Turkey, somebody else in California, Canada, what have you, right? Imagine that each one of you as an individual, you are minding your own business. You're a housewife, you write books, you paint, whatever. It doesn't really matter. You're not a politician. You're not an activist. You are who you are. You have your little present, your job, so to speak, right? But what you have, and nobody else has, at this moment, is the connection to a frequency that is going to free the planet. And so that connection, imagine that it's like a light beam. It's like a pathway, okay? It's like a pathway of light. If you don't specifically summon that connection, it's there, by the way, the connection is there. The connection has always been there. But if you don't summon it, if you don't bring it through, if you don't allow the information and the consciousness of the universe to come through you, then there is no pathway connecting back the earth to the source. So to me, it's not coming from one country. It's coming from people around the world. There are like little seeds like you that are awakening to this frequency. This frequency is the frequency of source. It's the intelligence, the mind, the heart, the consciousness of the universe. Okay? And so to me, that is the hope. And that is how the divine plan, in fact, is unfolding. All right?